Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative. Intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. Bell the Bodysnatcher on the ones and twos. The man on the other screen there is Corey Walsh.
Hi, and that's Dan Griffin.
That's me. That's me. Thanks for the emphatic introduction, Corey. We got a fun one today. A little bit of a slow news week, although we did have some breaking news today. Before we get to any of it, tell the people where they can find us, Corey.
I don't have it up, so you're going to have to stall. Stall, damn it.
What do you want me to do? Show my ass?
Sing a song.
This isn't OnlyFans.
Sing a song for me, Dan.
Like the SpongeBob theme that we were singing before the show started. I'll just tell the people what we got coming up tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about censorship, the security state, because what we consider a well-respected publication was essentially censored by GoFundMe, of all places. We'll tell you what that means, why that's bad, not good. We're going to talk a little bit about Chinese nationals apparently infiltrating our military bases. What does that mean? How political is it? And the possibility of reclassifying cannabis sounds really good, doesn't it? Until you realize that it's... Okay. But that's only until you realize that it's electoral politics season and it's fully underway. And just a little now, it's Wednesday night, so just a little bit over a week away from a UAW strike. And we're actually also tonight for the first time going to go over some listener topics.
We've done that before.
Well, just one, really, just one.
Yeah. So if you listen to the show and you want, I'm gonna try to make it so we engage the audience some more, and I'll make a post every week. So make sure you follow the show.
We'll give you a shout out.
Yeah. So make sure to follow the show on Facebook. So when I ask the question of like, hey, what topics you want to hear, you can comment on there so you can have your voice heard. And Dan, guess what?
What?
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at Libservative Pod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Show or Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
My 67 Corvette.
Thank you, Mr. President. We understand. We know how you feel about your precious car. The most important thing. The most important thing. It's what makes America great.
The 67 Corvette
is Joe
Not
Biden's
his
67.
Only his 67 Corvette is what makes America great.
Is the only one that matters. We have breaking news tonight, Corey. Actually, I mean, it's really like 8 hours ago or whatever that this first broke. But I had to bring this up because it's just perpetuating my feelings about like Donald Trump versus people who are trying to get Donald Trump and which is more annoying and which I hate more. I have referred to this as the LeBron James effect. In my younger days, I hated LeBron James. But as I've gotten older, I actually find LeBron James haters more annoying than LeBron James himself. And Donald Trump is swimming deeply into that territory. I just don't know who annoys me more. It's getting more and more to be that his haters are the ones that annoy me more than him himself, and I can't stand the man. So a Washington ethics watchdog is filing suit to try to block Trump from the ballot in the state of Colorado. Now, you might ask, why Colorado? I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that question yet. I think it was maybe just the easiest place to file this lawsuit. But they're doing it under the guise of the 14th Amendment. So the lawsuit cites Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which bars any person from holding federal or state office who took a, quote, oath to support the Constitution of the United States and then, quote, engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same. So here's why this bothers me, even as somebody who doesn't want to see Donald Trump on the ballot. I don't want to see Donald Trump on the ballot, but I would like to see him not on the ballot because Republican primary voters were smart enough to keep him off of the ballot. I don't think that's what we're going to see. So we have to go another direction, apparently. But here's my problem.
Strange legal theory.
And exactly. And using this particular context of the 14th Amendment, I'm going to explain to you why this is a problem.
Explain it to me, Dan.
Specifically says engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States. So this is a man that has been indicted 4 times for 4 separate things by a Department of Justice that has not included in its indictments insurrection or treason or any of these words that you will see Rob Reiner tweet on a regular basis with regards to what Donald Trump did and why he's such a bad orange man. If the Department of Justice can't convict this man of insurrection or treason, what in the hell makes this watchdog group think they can get Donald Trump removed from the ballot in the state of Colorado using essentially the exact same language?
Yeah, like it's frustrating because, like you said about Trump, like obviously I don't care for the man either. But what frustrates me is the fact that we live in a country that is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And yet here we are now just claiming that he's guilty and he has to prove his innocence in court, and we're putting the cart in front of the horse and just negating our democratic like standards or like the protocol of how we do things.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is that it seems like the very same people that want Trump indicted for an insurrection are the very same people that talk about the issues and the unfairness of the justice system. Do you see how
unfair to them?
Right, exactly. When it comes to prosecutorial legal theory, and when it comes to what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I lost my train of thought. It doesn't matter. But the point is here, you have a Department of Justice that didn't charge him with insurrection or treason or incitement or anything like that. And the reason is because they know they can't get him on these charges. So they have to use weird, goofy legal theory. And for some reason, this watchdog group thinks they can file a suit in Colorado under the very same guise to get him removed from the ballot, as opposed to just letting the democratic process play out. And it's so funny because these are the same people. And look, don't get me wrong, like Trump supporters and Republicans are just as guilty of this for different reasons. But these are the very same people that want to talk about the dangers to democracy. But we're using goofy, novel legal theory to keep a man off of the ballot?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be protecting democracy somehow? Like, what world do we live in?
Right. And so I have a couple of questions here, because this argument is not universally accepted and it faces at least several legal and political challenges. And so I just have 4 questions for you, Dan.
Okay, fire away. Rapid fire.
Who has the authority to determine whether someone has engaged in insurrection or rebellion? Is it the courts, Congress, state officials, or voters? This isn't like an actual like these are actual questions that are coming up about this. Like, who decides this? I don't have an answer to it.
Legally, I would say that it's up to the Department of Justice to prosecute, and then it's up to the courts to decide upon that prosecution.
But none of those have happened.
No, because they realize that the legal theory is garbage. They can't get them on these crimes.
Right. Yeah, it won't hold up in court, but they're going to try to circumvent it, is what's frustrating, right? And then what is the standard of proof and evidence required to prove that someone has engaged in insurrection or rebellion? Is it a criminal conviction, civil liability, impeachment, or something else?
You're talking, you said incitement?
How can someone challenge, or no, what is the standard of proof and evidence required to prove that someone has engaged in insurrection or rebellion?
I think it's remarkably difficult to prove.
Yeah, short of someone saying like an Aaron Burr thing, like I am going to
and
take over Texas and get them to secede.
That's no novel thing within American law. I mean, there's a lot of like weird laws that we have on the books, or like things that are technically considered illegal that are extremely difficult to prove. Yeah, I mean, if Donald Trump had stood up there, that last speech that he gave before everybody started going to the Capitol on January 6th and said, "Go storm the Capitol," I would think that probably constitutes pretty decent proof of something at least insurrection adjacent.
Right. But inciting a riot and insurrection are two very different things.
Correct.
I could see there being some sort of way to saying that he incited a riot.
But he's not even being charged with that.
Which I think is just a misdemeanor. But no, that's exactly what I'm getting at. But like, you figure all these people, they're standing there in the cold, surrounded by a million other people that are like-minded like them. And he goes, "We're going to fight like hell. We're going to go down to the Capitol and we're going to go with you. And I'll be with you." That maybe could tread the line of, like, it would be up to the courts and a jury to decide. It's not up to me to decide, right? Mm-hmm. That maybe could fall under like some sort of inciting a riot for the sake that he said, "Go down there, I'll be with you," but he wasn't.
I feel like
he didn't throw the first brick.
I feel like the First Amendment, and this is one of the things that makes the First Amendment so fantastic, is that I think it's one of those things where the First Amendment makes it really, really difficult to write a law on speech. I mean, we have certain laws on speech, right? We have libel laws and we have slander laws, but even both of those in civil cases are really, really difficult to get through. You know, it's so I just want the American people to decide. As much as I would hate to see 4 more years of Donald Trump, I want to see the American people decide, because if I've said it once, I'll say it a million times until this is all over. As much as I can't stand Donald Trump, if they can do this to him, they can do it to your guy. They can do it to your girl. They can do it to anybody they want. And as Jimmy Dore likes to say all the time, they would have done this to Bernie Sanders had he not decided in the end to be a good little boy and run with what the establishment Democrats went with.
Yeah, absolutely. My next question is, how can someone challenge or appeal a decision that disqualifies them from holding public office? Like, if he's disqualified, right? Let's say in Colorado, what's the legal standards of getting reinstated for that? Like, does he have to get pardoned? Does he have to prove his innocence in court against, like, what does he have to do? Does he file a suit that he's being treated unfairly or something?
Well, I think it would be setting a precedent, would it not? Has anybody ever been removed from eligibility to be on a ballot using the 14th Amendment before in U.S. history? I don't think so.
Well, so maybe in the 1860s, because it would like that, because like that's the thing too, is like this was put into the 14th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment was created after.
Maybe Bell can find that. Bell, has that ever been done before? Has anybody ever been kept off of a ballot using under the guise of the 14th Amendment?
If it
Maybe
did,
it's happened.
Bell, it would probably be like in the 1860s, 1870s, because it would have to be someone like a governor or a general or something from the
Confederacy.
Yeah, from the Confederacy.
Those losers.
And then, how would such a decision affect the rights and preferences of voters who support the disqualified candidate?
Hold on, say that again.
How would such a decision affect the rights and preferences of voters who support the disqualified candidate?
Well, I don't think it would, because I think all they're doing is keeping him off the ballot. I don't think that prevents anybody from voting for him. That's why we have write-ins.
That's true. That's the other weird thing about this. It's just his name. They just don't want to see his name on the ballot.
Well, that's just it. Like, you don't think his sycophants aren't gonna go to the ballot box and just write his name in anyway? Which is interesting, because like I've always wondered like how those votes are counted, because you put it in the machine and you got the bubble that you filled out, right? Like, doesn't it just read from wherever that bubble is? Like, if everybody's got a different write-in candidate, how do they even decide those votes? Or do they have to go back and figure out. I don't know. I have no idea how that would work.
I don't either.
It has never been used on a president.
Not on a president, but probably like
Yeah, it's been used.
representatives and
A couple reps.
Is it all in the 1800s?
1868. County commissioners, 2022. U.S. rep, 1919.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the 2022 case
Probably has to do with January 6th. I would.
does that have to do with January 6th?
Mobilizing the mob before January 6th Capitol
Yeah.
insurrection and then joining the inside and the mob. Yeah. He was at the Capitol.
But he was not accused of personally. What's that say?
Not accused of personally being violent or entering the Capitol.
So the guy wasn't charged with being violent or entering the Capitol, but they said he was an insurrectionist.
Well, and we
because
had
he was there.
never heard of it before. We'd never heard of this person before. How many people have heard of this actually taking place?
No one, I don't think.
And I don't think this gentleman, or it could be a woman, I guess, was considering running for president. So like nobody cares, I guess.
Oh, fuck. I keep
In other
yawning,
words,
man.
it kind of seems like it's never been used on somebody who actually has a chance to win the presidency, or actually even has an outside chance to win the presidency.
Yeah, it's scary. It's dicey territory
What does
to be going down this road.
We're Trump apologists, so
Apparently. I could tell everyone till I'm blue in the face that I hate the guy, but
yeah,
I don't think that we should turn our constitution on its head and our legal system contort our legal system just to keep him off the ballot.
And well, and the other thing is, like, even if you're somebody who really hates Donald Trump, like why is it so hard to see that after all 4 indictments, his popularity has gone up? Like, every time you try and take this guy down, it first of all hardens his base even further, and second of all, the polling numbers will show this, it actually makes him more popular.
Yeah.
So,
because here we are as people who don't like Trump, and we kind of see this as like some weird legal theory chicanery. So like, if you actually are like on your knees with your mouth open for Trump, then what are you going to do? I'm going to vote even harder.
I'm going to vote harder somehow.
I'm going to vote twice.
You could just see like the bubble mark for Trump, like every time it just gets darker because they're just scrubbing and people are starting to put holes through the fucking ballot.
Yeah,
they're voting for him so hard
in the ballots, and then voter fraud. I know we all voted for it.
That's it. That answers the conspiracy. People just voted too hard. They actually scrubbed through the ballot that the votes didn't get read. That's the chicanery.
It was. They were using Sharpie. They were like, Donald Trump uses one.
This is the only way to vote for Trump.
Sharpie. He's sponsored.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
hold on. Just out of curiosity, this is a little bit of a tangent. What do you think about Tucker Carlson's comments?
I didn't even see him.
He's sort of suggesting that there may be an assassination attempt on Donald Trump.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So here's his theory. And actually, like, if you think about it, it makes a little bit of sense. I still think it's a little bit out there, but it makes a little bit of sense.
I've seen it.
They've tried to use the legal system against him. Like, they've tried everything they can do to go against this guy who is clearly outside of the establishment. And in U.S. history, every time we've had that, somehow that person ended up dead. Like, that's kind of that's me just sloppily summing up Tucker Carlson's theory on Trump maybe needing to be worried about an assassination attempt. But here's the thing. Here's where I'll push back on Tucker there. Like, if that happens, which I'm not rooting for. Okay. I don't want to see anybody assassinated, including people I hate. If that happens, there is no way that that's not looked at as really, really suspicious by a huge number of Americans. Even I, as somebody who doesn't like Donald Trump, would find that remarkably suspicious.
Oh, if it was an assassination attempt?
or a successful one.
Yeah. They tried to take out Reagan.
They? Who's they? We never know who they are. That's the that's the Tucker Carlson thing.
Oh yeah, he always
are
says
they? No one really
He
knows.
always says they.
Yeah.
They don't want you to hear this, and it's like, well, wait, Tucker, who?
Well, I can't
Who's
tell
they?
you who because no
Should I
one
be
really
worried?
knows.
Are they also coming for me?
That's my issue with Tucker. I would say he theifies everything. Everything's a
Now they don't want me to say this, or like, yeah, they don't want you to know, but you're saying something that I've probably read in memes 100 times. Tucker Carlson.
Hold on. Tinfoil hat. Is Tucker working for the deep state? Is he preparing us for a Trump assassination?
Probably false flag.
False flag.
But no,
yeah.
here's what pisses me off when you're talking about like finding Trump haters more annoying than like Trump himself.
Yeah.
Is we have people in our country right now who just let themselves become emotionally driven, and they let their hatred for Trump supersede their love for the Constitution. And you have so many fucking people that are ready to just rip the Constitution up just to get Trump out. And it's absolutely insane to me. Like, why can't we all be more like Pence? He loved Trump, but he loved the Constitution more. Don't put Trump and your short-sighted hatred for this guy who's a pain in the ass, bar none. We all are in agreement on that. But don't put your hatred for him over your love for the Constitution.
Well, that's just it, right? Because once you circumvent,
unless you don't love the Constitution,
and a lot of people don't, but once you circumvent the Constitution once, now you've set a precedent for doing it again and again and again. And guess what? The next time it happens,
it might be your guy.
Your guy might be the dissident. Your guy might be the anti-establishment person. It might be a Cornel West, right? It might be a Bernie Sanders type, somebody that you might vote for, somebody that you might want in power. Yeah.
Because any law and precedent you set in place to take down the other person's guy, they're eventually going to be in power again. And guess what? You set the precedents that they can turn around and do it to you.
We're already seeing like a watered down version of that, right? So the Democrats spent all of this time.
Well, no. Okay. Well, real quick, you want the perfect example?
Yeah,
who's bitching about the filibuster right now? The most?
Democrats.
Who created the filibuster?
Democrats.
Exactly. like it's just insane. Who invented the gag rule?
I don't know that one.
The Democrats.
Yeah.
Who is getting the gag rule used against them in the most recent case?
I'm just going to take a wild shot in the dark here and say it's probably the Democrats.
Yeah. Stop just making shit up to suit your fancy in the near term, and no one has any type of foresight to think about the longevity of our country.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just pissing all over the Constitution to take down Trump because Orange Man bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do it the right way. Have a better fucking candidate. How about that? Quit being fucking lazy and just sharpieing all over the Constitution, and just have a decent candidate that's even like populist or not. Like, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of someone who's just a populist because their principles and policies go with the sway of the wind. Biden. But like, for fuck's sake. Like they got all these geriatric old men.
My 67 Corvette
that are older than a 67 Corvette by like a decades. And then, but like, you have McConnell freezing because he can't answer a fucking question whether or not he's going to run in 2 years, if he's even going to be alive in 2 years. Feinstein needs to be pushed around and catered to like she's in a nursing home.
Yeah,
Joe Biden has a stutter that came out of nowhere when you listen to his speeches from even when Obama was president. That stutter wasn't nearly that bad.
No, he was still lucid.
Fetterman.
When he was vice president. He was still lucid. He's always said really dumb things. Like he's
right,
always
but he was
said really
but
dumb
he was
things.
there.
Yeah. He was lucid at least.
Yeah, Fetterman. You get like Pelosi, Chuck Grassley. You have all these.
And I haven't made this joke in a while, but at least Nancy Pelosi's got some great tits for her age.
under 4 layers of clothing.
Sure.
Every time you bring that up, I have to.
Oh, sure. She's got all sorts of bungee cords and things holding those things in place.
Just rubber bands. And
Don't ruin my fantasy.
rubber bands and paper clips.
Probably perfect.
Could you hear the sarcasm in Belle's voice?
he's just trying to advocate for your fantasy. Dad, they're great. Perfect.
From a man who's seen a lot of old lady titties. Oh, the Bodysnatcher.
Thank you.
The tit to nipple ratio is just astonishingly correct.
There's no way they're not real.
I'm hoping they're not real.
Then they're perfect.
There you go, Dan. You heard it from Belle.
She probably got them redone over COVID right after she went to the nail salon. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect time to do that. Anyway, we spent too much time on this.
On what? Nancy Pelosi's tits?
No, well, yeah, but always that. But the
not for you. You can never have enough time spent on them.
Yeah, that's true.
Just curl up like a little bosom. Just
the people holding the watchdog group trying to hold Trump off the ballot. It's idiocy. It's ridiculous. Knock it off.
It's stupid, is what it is.
But it is a great segue into the next topic: censorship, the security state, and your money. I am going to guess that, well, you know what? Our audience is a little more in the know on this stuff than most, but many don't realize what happened with the Grayzone and GoFundMe over the weekend or late last week. So
another perfect example of precedents being set. Actually, I'll let you set it up, and then I'll elaborate on what I mean.
So the Grayzone, who is you may be familiar with their two top dogs, Max Blumenthal and Aaron Maté. All over the place. Dissident reporters, the kind of people that we're supposed to like, the kind of people that don't just go with the flow when it comes to being an actual fucking journalist. The Grayzone, publication that I enjoy quite a lot. So the online crowdfunding site GoFundMe just shut down a fundraising initiative for the Grayzone, a left-leaning. Yes, it is left-leaning. Don't let anybody fool you. It's actually not just leaning. It's very left. Anti-war site led by Max Blumenthal and Aaron Maté, citing what they euphemistically termed external concerns. The site froze $90,000 the Grayzone raised from 1,100 contributors to pay for the reporting of Kit Clarenberg, Wyatt Reed, and Alex Rubinstein. I keep saying, I've done that a million times. I keep calling this person Clit Carenberg. So I go, is it Clip? It's Clip, right? No, it's Kit Clarenberg. Kit. And I keep saying Clit Carenberg. I do apologize, Kit. But
he apologizes, Clit.
I'm sure he's got a sense of humor. He has to. He's been held in detention at Heathrow for to be asked about his views about the war on Ukraine. Kit Clarenberg is somebody that I really respect. I mean, Julian Assange type of journalist. I mean, that's I'm sure that Kit would take that as a massive compliment. But I do put him in that sort of realm. So they're trying to raise the Grayzone's trying to raise, I think it was $150,000 to get these three journalists' careers off the ground, or like really be able to pay them a decent wage, right?
So they could do it full time. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Grayzone is a publication that is, I believe it's entirely nonprofit. They don't charge for their publication. And I don't believe they have a whole lot of advertising, if they have any at all, because they're in it for, that's how you can tell that a publication is in it for the right reasons, when they're doing it all word of mouth, all grassroots.
Oh, did you say nonprofit and then use the word reason? Like Reason Magazine, who does the same thing?
Something like that. They're just libertarians. So the fundraiser has since moved to a new destination, and I actually have that destination in the show notes. You can follow that link if you want to donate to help get these three writers paid for the hard work that they do, and the dangerous work, quite frankly, that they do. It's through what's the new place? I got it in
like
here somewhere.
Sprout or something like that.
No, it's hold on, I got it here. It's Spot Fund. It's
Spot Fund. I knew it was
link,
an S.
The link is in the show notes. Here it is. Yeah, New Destination Spot Fund. And they've already surpassed the amount frozen by GoFundMe, and this was as of yesterday. So the damage, however, has been done. GoFundMe is now officially the poster child for politicization of economic services. And so under the Spot Fund,
now they are?
Yeah. Under the Spot Fund campaign, I believe Max Blumenthal wrote this. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Max. So if you go to the Spot Fund to actually contribute, yep, it was Max, because he says, I founded the Grayzone because there was simply nowhere else for me and many other independent journalists to go. By the time we launched as a fully successful independent outlet in 2018, mainstream press was a largely sold out propaganda factory, and even the supposedly alternative outlets that once provided us with a sanctuary from the corporate media has succumbed to imperialist narratives. Since then, the Grayzone has gathered an international audience of critical thinkers and truth seekers like yourself. Thank you. And we've made headlines around the world with our investigative reporting. Most importantly, our work has disrupted the violent regime change operations and information warfare campaigns waged by an unaccountable imperial elite in Washington and in Western Europe. This is precisely why GoFundMe has refused to transfer the funds we raised from the grassroots supporters like you. All they have told us is that the donations are being withheld due to some external concerns. Nobody knows what the hell that means. But we know who's behind the campaign of financial sabotage. It's the same entities that have targeted our personnel for years and for disrupting the official narrative spun out by the national security state. British counter-terror police recently detained and interrogated one of our most valued contributors, Kit Clarenberg, grilling him about the blockbuster journalism he's produced for us about the UK's covert operations. Unlike Julian Assange, Kit was able to make it out of his home country without being arrested. But he remains under official investigation. That's right. Kit's entire factual reporting is being treated as a potential act of terrorism by the British state.
Yeah. And so I got two things to say. First off, I do have, they're very, very trivial, but I do have a couple qualms with Grayzone, and I'll go into that after.
Of course. Yeah.
But first thing I was going to say is, do you remember the Freedom Convoy in Canada a few years back when truckers, whether they were Sikh, black, white, all race, all creed, all religion, all
domestic terrorists, Corey,
and they were all labeled as domestic terrorists because they were just parking their trucks on the street, and they were labeled as far right, right? Remember, they were far right, and when they were doing that and people were raising money on GoFundMe to give to them, GoFundMe stopped the money, remember?
And tracked them.
They stopped them. They tracked everyone who donated them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Ilhan Omar actually spoke out against it. And then liberals were freaking out against her for speaking out against unconstitutional surveillance. And
even though it was a different country, but still.
But people from America, from America were donating
I got you.
to an American-based company called GoFundMe. They're not a Canadian-based company. They're American-based. And an American-based company decided to stop sending money to people in another country. And everyone's like, well, they're a private business. They could do what they want, right? And it's just, as soon as you label someone far left or far right, you're allowed to just, they don't deserve the rights that you and I are deserved under the Constitution.
And what's interesting about that, before you continue, Corey, is when you label somebody far left or far right, it's almost like they're interchangeable. Like you just use whichever one you want based on which audience you're trying to get to hate that group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so GoFundMe did that. And here we are a short 3 years later. And now they're doing it to a far left news organization. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the precedents with Trump. You go and start do what you take the genie out of the bottle to start doing this shit in one way, the pendulum's going to swing back the other way. And it's just insane to me that if it's the far left or the far right and everyone who's just like either like, your limousine liberal or your traditional conservative, they're not in that fringe, so they don't feel affected, so they don't really speak out against it. But that far left label and that far right label is slowly encroaching more and more towards the middle, and more people are getting put into that net. And
the snake eventually eats its own tail.
If GoFundMe has the ability to take down $1 million donations for an established news organization, then there's nothing stopping them from doing it to just your average Joe Smo.
Well, yeah, and
it's a private company, and there are alternatives, and we just have to encourage people to use the different alternatives because of this fact, and hopefully this bad business model does start to affect their pocketbook.
And that's the scary part. What you just said is the scary thing. Like, in certain factions, like this might be labeled as like conspiracy theory stuff, but it's like this idea of the World Economic Forum trying to get rid of cash.
Well, yeah, that too.
As a means of control, right? Because so now politically you can control me because you know who I support. You can freeze my funds.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I can't support.
I don't think we're there yet, and I think
their own money.
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet, and I think there are ways to fight against it.
They don't need the government to do it. Private institutions are doing it. This has happened twice now.
Yeah.
And as for my qualms with the Grayzone, the only thing I don't like sometimes when I hear them like talk and stuff like that, when they dog shit on America justifiably, like justly. And when they talk about our America's foreign policy shortcomings, with whether it's coup attempts, meddling in elections,
foreign elections,
doing things like that, they treat America as the exceptional shitty player in all of it, and the way they explain away like China and Russia as like the underdog kind of thing, like I don't know, like they're just as bad. I'm not saying that we're better, but they're just as bad. But it seems like sometimes when they do like their pieces on Jimmy Dore, and Jimmy Dore kind of does the same thing, like when they're like, China isn't an empire, America is, because we have 1,000 bases everywhere. And it's like, well, that's true that we do, but don't discount China because they're literally trying to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, the whole don't build your country so close to our military bases thing.
Right. And like when it comes to the Ukraine-Russia thing, I still think I got it pretty spot on, where it's essentially like a school shooter who's been poked and prodded for 4 years and he finally snapped. That doesn't give them a pass. Russia still is invading a sovereign country that is free, essentially, like they were until this happened. Now they've gone total, like making other political parties illegal. They're not going to hold elections unless we fund them as the U.S. And we also help them institute the government that they have now through a coup or a revolution, depending on how you want to word it. Both words are kind of the same depending on which side you're on.
It's interesting though, because I think if you, I see your point, but
they're not factually wrong. But they do drive a narrative.
Yeah, what the Grayzone has done is they found a niche, But I think if you talk to Max or you talk to Aaron Maté, I don't. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've heard them say this on various podcasts. Like they're not like supporting Putin attacking Ukraine. That's just not the stories that they tell. Right. The stories that they tell are what is American imperialism's part in causing these things to happen.
Yeah, and they're not factually inaccurate on things. I just think they drive a certain narrative that sometimes it's like, come on, guys. Yeah. That's my only qualm with them. Well, but it's so funny because when it comes to this,
they are in a strange way they are activist journalists. But they're not activists. They're activist journalists in a way that, like, it's the type of activism that actually
their
matters.
Niche is exposing their niche is exposing American corruption.
Yeah, it's not, and it's
so
not.
That's their narrative.
It's not activist journalism in like the way that like the Washington Post are activist journalists where they're like fake activism. They're like support LGBTQ, but don't worry about the Nazis that have been bombing the Donbass and Ukraine for 10 years.
We'll change our icon on the Washington Post American Twitter, but not the Saudi Arabian one.
Right, 100%.
Where the Grayzone would do it regardless of where they are at, kind of thing.
There's an honesty to the Grayzone's activist journalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just they drive a narrative as well.
Yeah, I think we're at a point where you kind of have to. People will probably accuse us of driving a narrative.
But what kills me is like some of that external decisions and stuff. Like Ad Fonts has the Grayzone as uncredible. Like they have credibility issues.
Right.
But when you look up the things that they say they have credibility issues on, it's things that are like inconclusive. They just have the different narrative. Like the Syria, like Assad, like America's narrative was Assad poisoned his people.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, when you look it up, it is still like,
unknown.
Well, it's inconclusive, unknown, but there were some phone calls, so we think it was Assad.
Mm-hmm.
And the Grayzone is just saying it's not, and America is saying it is.
Corey, do you remember when we were talking to people from Syria? Do you remember what you had some app on your phone? And
Periscope. Yes. Like 6 years ago, I was on Periscope.
Yes.
And someone in Syria was on there. They were just he was from Syria. He was a Syrian, and he was on the Periscope app. It was a streaming app. And he was on there just talking about Syria and stuff like that. And I just straight up asked him, I was like, did Assad poison your people? And he said, Assad is a shitty leader, but none of us here believe that he poisoned us.
Yeah, it's obviously,
but that's anecdotal, obviously. Yeah, but it's still, it's like, I'm so sick and tired of everyone taking the American narrative as fact and completely disregarding any other narrative that doesn't fit the cookie cutter binary message that we have here in America.
Well,
and the Grayzone challenges that, and so the mainstream media and the powers that be do not fucking like that. And you know why? Because they're popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care. You can vehemently disagree with them. You can call them a bunch of conspiracy crackpots. You can say that they're wrong in every way you can, but you know what? Voice your opinion that they're wrong. You don't fucking silence people, and you don't take the food out of their mouths because you disagree with their opinion.
And how quick you are to dismiss journalists like Max Blumenthal, like Aaron Maté, like Matt Taibbi. Matt fucking Taibbi. Really? Like this guy is bad news?
Yeah, Russell Brand, Matt Taibbi, fucking Jimmy Dore.
Yeah.
Bill Maher now is getting a bad shake because he doesn't fit the cookie cutter narrative.
Well, he's kind of back and forth. Bill Maher can't make up his mind where the hell he wants to go.
Neither can we. So,
yeah, I don't know. The scary part about this is the fact that it can't be proven, and it probably never will be. But the fact that GoFundMe is going along with state narratives, with narratives coming from the state, with demands coming from the state about shutting these people down. Like, is it coincidental? How could it be? They can't even give an explanation for why they would freeze $90,000 in donations to a publication that we all know the establishment hates. Like, what else could possibly be going on here? Like, this isn't conspiracy theory nonsense. Just connect, like the dots are really connectable. There's point A and there's point B, and there's a line that goes in between point A and point B. There is nothing outside of that. That's the scary part. That they're able to fuck these people over financially because they don't like what they're saying. And when you have, I think GoFundMe is technically a nonprofit, but like either way, when you have nonprofits or private corporations doing the bidding of the state, I mean, how many times do we have to see this? We've seen the Twitter files. We've seen that. We've seen Robbie Suave, I believe it was Robbie Suave at Reason doing the Facebook files. That didn't quite get as much notoriety as the Twitter files did. But we're seeing private corporations and nonprofits now, it looks like, doing the bidding of the state.
That
is 1984 shit, dude. That is Orwellian shit.
I don't
Go
think
ahead.
GoFundMe is nonprofit though.
Maybe
think
it's
they get a
not. I could
cut.
be wrong. I could be wrong. Well, they could get a cut, but that doesn't make them a for-profit company. I don't know. Bell, look it up. Is GoFundMe for-profit or nonprofit? It doesn't matter. Either way, I just don't want to get it wrong. But
Well,
yeah,
I feel
it's
ya.
doing the bidding of the state. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're a Trump supporting Republican or the staunchest Biden Democrat. It is
Nope.
not good.
I will defend your right to free speech because I'm hoping that you'll do the same for me. And I don't want a precedent set. Like I hate what you're saying, but I want to give you the right to say it. So I have the right to say that I hate what you're saying.
Shall we remind everyone that lots of other people have reminded people of multiple times back when the ACLU defended Nazis?
For the right to advocate their free speech. And then I
100%.
can stand across the street from them and tell them they're a bunch of bigot fucking idiots.
Well, and doesn't it make it easier to fight when folks even like Nazis have the fundamental First Amendment right to say what they want to say without the state stepping in and having people go, wait a minute, now we have to worry about what the state's doing. Doesn't it make it a lot easier for us to see that speech as deplorable and actually fight about the speech itself?
I'll read it off. So GoFundMe. There's no fee to start or manage your fundraiser. However, to help us operate safely and securely, one small transaction fee, which is 2.9% plus 30% or 30 cents, which includes debit and credit charges per donation, is deducted.
So that could easily be a nonprofit. I don't know.
Oh, nope. So GoFundMe is a 501c3.
Nonprofit?
Yep, they are nonprofit.
That's what I thought.
And then what was the question you asked right before that? I'm sorry.
Doesn't it make it easier if we don't have the state intervening and causing people to argue about First Amendment issues?
When we could just be arguing about the topic at hand.
When we could just be arguing about the deplorable speech of Nazis. Like public opinion will win that argument every fucking time. Nazis suck. We don't like Nazis. Nazis are bad. Like, we don't need the government to go,
unless they're
Nazis,
in the Azov battalion.
Nazis, you can't say that. Well, that's true, unless they're in the Azov battalion. Nazis, you can't say that. We don't need the government to do that. We can make that decision on our own. But it's dangerous if certain people hear it, Corey. If certain ears hear it, they might just become Nazis tomorrow.
Then build a better fucking argument. Like if my son comes home and goes, yeah, I don't know, Dad, this guy was talking about how back in
Jews
the 50s,
are bad.
the country was better when everything was segregated. And then I'll just be like, okay, well, your friend is an idiot because those people that were segregated had half of the rights that you have. Do you enjoy your freedoms? Would you like to live in a country to where there's the ability for your freedoms to be taken away based on the colors of your skin? No. Oh, okay. Then it sounds like your buddy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. You're right. I can't wait to tell that Nazi that.
then the more you know, Rainbow just comes in.
Right.
The more you know, Rainbow just comes all over his face. That was weird. I shouldn't have said that.
Did you just say? Yeah, let's go. Move along. Move along.
What are you, Joe Biden now, Dan? Now I'm speaking to myself in the third person.
My 67 Corvette.
Shh, Mr. President, take a nap.
Yeah, go back to sleep, buddy.
Anyway, censorship bad.
All the way around, no matter what it is. You can censor things out of your personal life. Right now, our Constitution guarantees that you can censor whatever you want on your own life, whether it's parental controls, blocks on your feed, on your Facebook. You can block people. You could do all that stuff for yourself. You don't need someone else to decide whether or not you're smart enough to make that decision.
Do you want to talk about the Chinese? We're running a little bit out of time. Do you want to talk about the Chinese nationals? You want to talk about reclassifying cannabis, or you want to talk about UAW?
So the Chinese nationals one is pretty interesting, I think, actually. Oh, why did that pop up?
I don't know. What'd you click?
I didn't click anything.
Because the live viewer comments show up on StreamYard. This is an example.
Why the fuck did that show up?
Click on a real comment to show it on the screen. We don't have those today.
Well, that's fucking stupid.
There we go. I got it. I
There we
took
go.
care of it for you, Corey. I
Hell
took care of
yeah.
it for you.
Where the fuck even cut? It's not even a banner.
No, it's what happens when I'm in comments. Blank.
Oh.
We're just doing a show meeting live on the air, folks. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just show meeting.
For the
live on
listeners
the air.
only, a stupid banner popped up that shouldn't have.
There are
And-
less than one persons that care about that, Corey.
StreamYard, 1 star. Too confusing.
Oh, would not recommend. Chinese nationals allegedly posing as tourists to infiltrate military bases. You want to go there? Let's just go there. Let's just do that.
Yeah, let's just fucking do it.
It's bad.
We do not talk about fun things on this show. So the federal government is investigating over 100 incidents in recent years in which, why do I have this fucking ad in front of my article?
I don't know.
It's
So
definitely not
according to
fun.
several news reports, there have been over 100 incidents of Chinese nationals posing as tourists to breach the U.S. military sites and other sensitive locations in the past few years. Some of these incidents are suspected to be forms of espionage, as the Chinese government may be compelling some of its citizens to test and report on the security practices at the installations. The FBI and the Department of Defense have been tracking and investigating these cases and have held a review last year to try to curb the frequency of these breaches. Hey, Belle, real quick, will you look up like the law for China that their nationals have to have like unwavering support for the CCP?
Pull that shit up, Jamie.
Yeah, pull that shit up, Belle. But yeah, dude, Chinese nationals were found scuba diving near the Kennedy Space Center rocket launch site in Florida.
What?
What a weird thing to be spying on.
The Chinese nationals were
No.
caught swimming and taking photos near an intelligence center in Key West, Florida. 3 of them were arrested and sentenced to prison in 2020. A group of Chinese nationals tried to push past guards at Fort Wainwright, Alaska, claiming they had reservations at a hotel on the base. And the base is home to an army division focused on Arctic warfare. And some Chinese nationals claim to be following Google Maps directions to the nearest fast food restaurant, which happened to be near military bases. So these incidents have raised concerns over the potential threat posed by China to the U.S. national security and defense information. The FBI stated that it will not tolerate the Chinese government's campaign of theft and malign influence, and that it has committed to protecting the U.S. democracy and those who defend it.
So on a scale of 1 to a finger in your ass, how much do you trust what the FBI is saying here?
A finger in my no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so
Like 1 knuckle? Like trust him a little bit, but just 1 knuckle in your ass?
All right. So the whole space station thing, it brings me back to the whole SpaceX thing and the Department of Justice suing Elon for not hiring migrants and people seeking asylum. It's a real thing. Getting to the moon, getting into space, that's like hot technology. You don't see other countries doing it too much. Russia tried to do it in
India just landed on the moon, though.
India, but they're rich. How many other countries are landing on the moon?
China,
China?
India, Russia, America.
Russia
Well,
didn't land.
They're
They
rich
failed.
comparatively.
Yeah.
You got 3 countries on the moon. Space technology is hot.
And China wants a piece of it. No,
I
that's
guess.
fair.
I guess.
But,
I understand Bell's point here, but like, I just like with everything that we've seen, I just don't trust anything the FBI says.
No, that's
It's just-
absolutely true. But these people like have been arrested. Like these incidences are like
Okay, there's
factual.
people in there's
Like, these-
people that were supposedly terrorists in Guantanamo Bay too. Like, what's your point?
Not only that, you throw 10 of these people that have to be loyal to their government to do these tasks, these menial tasks. Like they sound menial to me and you, but to them it's everything. So they send 1,000 people, and then if they get intel from 10 people, that's a lot of intel.
Like, you know how easy it is to like plausible deniability of just being a dumb tourist, though.
Exactly.
Like, and our government like doesn't take it. Like, for example, here in Michigan where we live, the border to Canada, I can drive south Which, fun fact, Detroit is the only area you drive south to get to Canada.
It's the only major city that you drive south to get to Canada. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess if you're in Alaska, you drive south, but or west. But anyways, I was coming back from Canada after going to Canada, and there's that sign that says, "Stop here and wait for next car to pass." And it gives you a space of like 30 feet before the car in front of you. I didn't see the fucking sign. You know, it's statute of limitations. It's been more than 7 years. I was wasted. And I pulled right up behind this other car.
Kids.
Do not do it, because you might end up having guns pulled on you at the border coming into America from Canada. These guys came out with their guns and they were just like, "What are you doing? Like, did you read the sign? Back your car up right now," and this and that. And I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't see the sign." You know, and they're like, and so I could easily see, like, if I was trying to do some shady
is like
shit,
something out of It's Always Sunny.
just pretending to oh, oops, I made a mistake. I didn't mean to scuba dive next to your super secret submarine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the plausible deniability of being able to get away with this and just going, "Oh, silly me."
So let me ask you guys this: you guys are China hawks now? You guys are just dirty China hawks?
No, but I do believe China is doing some shady shit. Like, do you really believe China's narrative about the balloon? Like, "Oh, whoops,
Not only that,
my bad. I knew I put that balloon somewhere."
not only that, Dan. You know what our government does.
And you don't think our government has spies that are just bumbling idiots? Like, that's like, look, there's movies based on spies like that.
Well, here's the thing. But here's
China.
There is a difference. It's a lot harder. Like, that's kind of one of the disadvantages to being the liberal democracy that we are, is that, like, you have freedom of movement around our country, even as a tourist. You go to China, you can't do that shit. You can't just move wherever the hell you want without being surveilled, and you can't say whatever the hell you want without being
people
surveilled.
Are still getting arrested for spying.
Yeah. So no, that's a good point. I will.
Yeah,
say
look
this,
at it happens in Russia too. Look at
Russia.
What was that, Wheeler, right?
Yeah.
Brittany Griner.
Well, she just smoked weed.
she's a dirty doper. She had marijuana, Bell.
Yeah, absolutely. She's un-American.
She's not in America, where we're rescheduling it to make it less of a criminal offense.
We'll get there. I will say this though. So I don't know what it is about, like, it's probably because the CCP runs everything in China, but like their ability to just, like, from a PR perspective, say the right things. Have you guys seen the quote from Lu Pingyu or whatever the hell her name is?
Well, that's Chinese also not true necessarily.
Well, no, but here's what she said. Like, this is the right thing to say. Quote, the relevant claims are purely ill-intentioned fabrications. We urge the relevant U.S. officials to abandon the Cold War mentality, stop groundless accusations, and do more things that are conducive to enhancing mutual trust between the two countries and friendship between the two peoples. That's just the right thing to say,
That's
dude.
Smooth. But it's empty, hollow words.
Oh, I get it. I get it. But, like, from a PR perspective, China nails it. They always seem to nail it.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, I feel like, see, so that's the saying that they have, because remember, when it comes to media, even for a PR, that message written in English was designed for Americans to hear.
But also
to cause discourse. Right. That wasn't for the Chinese to hear.
No, you're
just
right.
Just like when we say things, or when Russia says things, they say it. Yeah, maybe for you, you fucking
no,
China cuck.
No. I mean,
I'm just kidding.
It works globally, right? So, like, think about what she just said there. Basically, like, accusing the United States of having a Cold War mentality. I'm talking about globally. Accusing the United States of having a Cold War mentality and, you know, wanting to enhance mutual trust between the two countries. When you look at the United States and you think about the American hegemony and the imperialistic nature that we have, and now we have our bases all over the globe, like, you don't think other countries, like, why do you think BRICS exists right now? Why do you think it's gaining traction? Like,
is it gaining traction though?
I mean, at least it is in media discourse. It is. I mean,
in American media discourse, because our media wants you to think that's a
scary.
threat to unify the people. But
like,
that's such a shaky thing. Like none of those countries.
You don't think that the rest of the world is sick of our bullshit? Or sick of our bullshit?
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
So that's what I mean when I say that. Whatever her name is, Lu Pingyu. Like they say, China says the right things to slowly start putting in the head of the rest of the globe that they're the good guys. When in reality, we're both the bad guys. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, our foreign policy is trash. I mean, we set a foundation between like the 30s and 40s and 50s to make like the world freer than it's ever been. But it's like the movie The Dark Knight, where Harvey Dent says, it might have been Harvey Dent that says it, or it might have been the chick at the dinner table or whatever. But they say you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself a villain.
Yeah, that's us.
We're teetering on that villain thing, yeah. And we really need to pull back our reins on this bullshit that we're doing, because we are going to start pissing people off. And with China being an economic powerhouse that can offer that financial like safety net and things like that, like America has after the whole world was decimated from World War II for the last 50 years. There's another player on the block that can give them an alternative, and that is nerve-wracking. And us just trying to strong-hand it and strong-will it is going against the very grain that we use to get into that position in the first place.
And China is, I'm going to give them credit for this. They're doing what we should be doing, except we should be doing it with a free market capitalist venture.
Oh, you mean instead of curtailing countries like Haiti and
instead of bombing places, let's use economic strength around the globe. That's what China's doing.
Could you imagine if we did that in South America? There goes half the immigration crisis. Maybe if we end this bullshit war on drugs and doing coups to topple
leftist governments
that we don't like, yeah.
To the point where we actually have to let the leftist back out of jail because the far right person got back in office, like what happened in Brazil,
right?
With Bolsonaro, yeah.
You know,
like we arranged for the leftists to go to prison so that the moderate right winger could win, but the far right person won. So we had to let the leftist out. We had to convince them to let the leftist out of jail so that he could go and beat the far right candidate. It's a comedy.
I know.
It's a comedy of errors. It's hilarious.
We need to fucking stop doing that shit, because it's just making the, like, right now. We don't need the world to be unstable. We need to make it as stable as possible. Yep.
Years ago, now 15 years.
We don't need to. Yeah, like what's worked for us for the past few years is making small countries unstable to create a vacuum for us to go in and exploit it.
Yeah.
We're running out of places to do that. And China's coming behind us and cleaning up the mess and offering these countries economic support.
Uh-oh, Bell's losing it back there.
Yeah, what's so funny? Oh, what I said?
No, can you not hear it?
No, we can't hear it. Whatever you're playing, we can't hear it. so you just sounded like a fucking demented clown laughing in the background. All I can hear is
your Joe Biden quotes and
You can still hear it?
Yeah, I can still hear it all.
Oh, we can't hear it? That's weird. Hold on. Let's see if I can fix that.
No one else can hear it. It's just Bell.
Then he made my 67 Corvette. Then he made a few fire.
There we go. Should be gone now.
It is.
Yeah, that was weird. Anyway, God, we've had a couple technical errors here today. Yeah, so I guess
Bell's head.
Yeah,
it's always me.
To close this, it's just Benny Hill just playing in his head the whole. That's what's going to happen when you and I end up in an insane asylum over talking about this shit. It's just going to be Benny Hill on a loop in our
Sometimes
head.
at work when I see stuff going wild, I just in my head, like when someone does something silly or anything like that, I just go.
Anyway. Chinese nationals allegedly posing as tourists. It's funny because like I can see a scenario where it where it would make sense for China to do that, but I also don't trust the FBI. And so that basically speaks to how our legal institutions or our law enforcement institutions, this is why it's bad for us to lose the trust, because then when something actually does happen, nobody believes it.
Exactly.
Anyway. That was the
Um,
lesson we were trying to teach, and it took us 15 fucking minutes to do it.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It's intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. Here we go. Do we want to talk about reclassifying cannabis, or do we want to save that and go to the UAW strike? Because I don't know if we're going to get another show in prior to that going in.
Well, we also have the listener topic.
We can do that too. We got time. We're at an hour 5. Let's go to UAW.
Oh, okay.
I'm just taking over. This is a dictatorship, motherfucker.
I guess so. All right, America.
All I really wanted to talk about, because we had an Obama official, and we've had other establishment Democrats who are supposed to be the pro-worker party, right, come out and say that what the UAW workers are asking for, too much. It's beyond the pale. I don't know why that all of a sudden is a quote that everyone's
So one
using.
of the Obama officials who called the UAW's demands beyond the pale is Steve Ratner, a former advisor to the president on the auto industry bailout in 2009. He wrote an op-ed in the New York Times on August 8th, 2023, criticizing the union for asking for substantial wage increases. Criticizing the union for asking for substantial wage increases. Marinate on that. The guy that was an advisor to the president on the auto industry bailout. The one who probably helped craft how. Remember when that happened? When they cut everyone's pensions and cut everyone's funds and created a 2-tier employment system, eliminating union for asking substantial wage increases,
Obama.
eliminating compensation tiers, restoring cost of living adjustments, because those were taken as well, cost of living adjustments, providing a new pension plan, and reducing work weeks to 32 hours. He argued that these demands would add more than $80 billion to each of the big 3 automakers' labor costs and make them uncompetitive with foreign rivals like Tesla. Which, excuse me, I don't think Tesla's a foreign rival.
Well, they're manufactured overseas, but so is a lot of the big 3 stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand.
Yeah, like that's what's funny about the big 3. You only need a certain percentage of stuff like assembled here. Everything else is built everywhere else. It's just assembled here.
Well, yeah, but even in that case, I mean,
my IKEA furniture is made in America because I fucking assembled it here.
Built it here. Yeah, absolutely. But even so, like you could look at foreign automakers. Like I own a 2012 Volkswagen that's got 1 million miles on it still going. That German engineering's fantastic. I know for a fact that car was assembled in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Honda, is it Honda or Toyota? Toyota is one of the biggest American manufacturers right now.
Or assembly plants at least. I don't know if it's Honda or if it's Toyota. Somebody can look that up for us. I have no idea.
He also claimed that the UAW had already received generous concessions from the automakers in the past, such as profit sharing bonuses, healthcare benefits, and job security guarantees. He urged the union to be more realistic and cooperative in the contract negotiations, or risk losing more market share and jobs to overseas competitors.
You know what? It has to be. It has to be Toyota.
Why is it when it comes to the union?
Sorry, I got off track. Go ahead.
Why is it when it comes to union and workers, all of a sudden overseas competitors are a big deal, but any other fucking time, NAFTA, Obama's TPPS that failed, all of this other shit and offshoring and globalizing the economy is good, but when workers want more wages, the global competition is bad. That makes sense.
I don't know if I can put that together right now.
So let me try to rephrase that. Globalized economy, like especially in the 90s, was pushed so goddamn hard down our throats with things like NAFTA and allowing China into the G7 and the World Economic Forum and all of these different things, right? because it was a globalized economy. This is good.
Mm-hmm.
We want a globalized economy because it's good for the people at the top. But when the union workers want just living wages, real quick. So Bob asked, how did the TPP fail specifically? That's because Trump kneecapped that one, which I'm actually 50-50 on because of the way the geopolitical stances in the world now, that maybe we should not necessarily offshore there, but I mean, it failed. It's not necessarily a failure, but sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent reading all this kind
You're
of.
losing your train of thought here, Corey.
I'm losing my train of thought. I'll get back to you in a second.
Stop trying to read and speak at the same time.
Hang on for a second, Bob. I'll get to you. What I'm saying is, like, when our government and everyone is like, oh yeah, global economy, NAFTA's gonna make a lot of people a lot of money, like all of this globalization, but yet when that's good for like the CEOs and the business owners, that's great, good, awesome. But when the workers are like, hey, we want more money, they go, oh well, this globalization shit's really gonna fuck you over. You got to keep those wages down so you're competitive.
Well, yeah,
it's just funny how that works.
Well, that has a lot to do with tariffs, right? Because like protectionist policy, right? Because we were talking about I can't remember
Jones Act.
No, even just a few minutes ago,
baby food.
We couldn't decide whether or not it was Toyota or Honda. Well, part of like one of the big tariffs that came through, I believe, I can't remember. I don't know if it was part of the Jones Act, but it was part of like one of the major tariff acts of, I believe, the 1950s, where one of the tariffs was on like light trucks. So
yeah, because Toyota had a truck.
Have you noticed how foreign manufacturers outside of Toyota, because they have American assembly plants, we don't have foreign pickup trucks? Like Volkswagen makes a pickup truck. We can't sell it.
You'll see Toyotas. The Toyotas
That's
are.
what I said. Like, Toyota's the only one. Toyota's the only foreign manufacturer.
There's a really weird looking Honda.
But what is that? It's because it's not really a truck. The Ridgeline, that's not a fucking truck. Get the hell out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
What does it do? It drives up the cost of pickup trucks because it drives down competition. Like, that's the problem with tariffs. But either way, that's kind of
okay. So he asked how the TPP failed specifically. So the reason why I said the TPP failed, and not when I say failed, I mean like it didn't come to fruition because it was never put into place, because Obama proposed it, and then when Trump came in, he nixed it right away. So that's what I mean by it when it failed.
So I guess it didn't technically fail.
Bob said last year, 2022, broke the record in American exports for the 5th year in a row, selling $2.34 trillion in goods and services abroad, which is also true right now. Reshoring, which is the opposite of offshoring, manufacturing plants and everything are being built here at an exponential rate because of the whole, like, all of the different logistical issues we had with our supply chains during COVID and stuff like that. So everything is starting to come back, and that's good. And one of the reasons why that is also happening is because we're running out of places to exploit the labor technically. China now, their middle class is getting bigger and they're wanting more money. So now we have to pay these people more money and transport everything back when we could go somewhere like Mexico and things like that. And even then in Mexico, it costs a little bit more than China, but that's starting to even out. And these things like just-in-time inventory, which is where what means is like they try to make it where they have just enough for now, because the supply chains, when they're running great, it's a good system to have for a company because holding onto inventory is expensive, but it's fragile, as evidenced by the supply chain issues. All it takes is one fucking freighter named Evergreen to block the Suez Canal.
You talk about the whole next day delivery economy that we have. Yeah. It's got its ups and downs, but like,
and so that's what I mean by how that's a failure. But where my qualm is how come every time you hear politicians and stuff talk about how globalism is okay, but when it comes to the worker, they can't get more money because the globalism is going to hurt them.
When it comes to the worker, it's dangerous. Globalization is dangerous when the worker is demanding
when the worker
more.
tries to combat it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I'm a capitalist. I think, Corey, I think you're mostly a capitalist. It's weird because we're capitalists with like leftist tendencies, which is really strange. Which probably is
freeform capitalism.
That's probably what makes us outcasts.
Mixed with freeform, complete laissez-faire capitalism, mixed with collective bargaining rights being protected by the government in the same way that property rights are protected. Well, I think would be the best system that we could ever have.
I think that really is what speaks to the question at hand here, which is the UAW strike, which it's not certain, but it's looking more and more like it's going to happen. Although the UAW, the president, what's his name, Sean Fine, is finally kind of starting to maybe make some compromises, which you have to do in collective bargaining. What is it? It's
fucking Trump, art of the deal. They put everything on the table that they absolutely wanted, but you know that about half of that is probably what they'll accept.
Well, exactly. So the question is, are they?
It's called a negotiation. It's not a demand.
Are they asking too much? And we shit on establishment Democrats because they're actually right wingers with regards to the workers. Are they asking too much, or I put the question in here, or are we redefining American work? Is this a generational divide? And the reason I put that in there is because, so if you take a look at the two big things that the UAW workers are looking for, they're looking for a 46% wage increase. Now you see that number and you go, wow, that's a big fucking number, even if you're somebody who supports workers. But hang on.
If you're making $20, you're making 28 now.
But hang on. I mean, but by percentage, that's a big number. And the other thing that they're asking for is a 4-day work week with full-time pay. So take the wage increase for just a second. 46% seems like a huge number, regardless of which side you're on. Maybe it's huge because it should be, because you support it, or it's huge because it's not good and you don't support it. Either way, it's a big number. We know that that's not going to be what the end number is. Okay, I think one of the three major companies, I can't remember which one, has not offered a counteroffer yet. I want to say it's Stellantis, formerly Fiat Chrysler. But the other two have offered...
Formerly Fiat Chrysler, formerly Daimler Chrysler, formerly Chrysler.
Ford and GM, I believe, have offered like 9%, something in that range. Seems like a big difference from 46%. So it seems like this is probably going to end up somewhere in like the 25 to 30% wage increase range. I don't think that's going to be the hard thing for them to come together on, as far as like what's going to be the pay raise.
Like, pay us to where one guy, where the dad can work and the mom can stay home, and we can support a family, have a house, have a cottage.
Wait a minute, why can't the mom work and the dad stay home, Corey?
Either or, whatever. Don't fucking do that.
But I wanted to talk about the 4-day work week, because I think this is what I mean when I talk about like redefining American work. Because you and I are both millennials, Corey. We're middle-aged millennials. We're kind of in the middle. We're not the youngest. We're not the oldest millennials. But I think a lot of people in our generation saw like our dads and our grandpas working
60 hours a week,
these incredibly difficult jobs. They saw their benefits stripped. They saw their pensions stripped. And what you have is these same guys and these same generations look at us and go, wow, your generation is so lazy. Your generation doesn't want to work. And it's like, no, dad, no, grandpa.
Thanks, dad, who didn't show up at 3 of my birthdays.
We saw the fact that you fucking worked 72 goddamn hours a week, never had time to spend with me, your kid, or grandpa with dad. And for what? Like, what did you get out of that? Well, I got an honest day's work out of it. Yeah. And you
thanks,
died
Dad.
at 70 years old.
Yeah. You worked 60 hours in the production output that your generation doesn't even touch the production output my generation does.
But I look at that and I go, like, that's a generational divide, because I think a 4-day work week is so reasonable. Like there are plenty of,
well, there's a lot of studies, and Bell, if you could find one, that'd be great. There's a lot of studies that show the 4-day work week is more productive. They did a lot of it in the UK and places like that. There was a bunch of European
countries. Yeah.
A lot of big businesses that did the 4-day work week studies, and like studies show that like 8 hours pretty much on a day for one day. 8 or 9 is like the optimal where you get the most production out of someone. When it gets to like 10 or 11, you're just losing time.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, aren't most auto worker jobs hourly wages? I don't think most of them are salary. I could be wrong. Like
I think guys on the floor are hourly.
So
usually white collar is salary. Maybe the supervisors and management staff.
You just have to go ahead, Bell.
What exactly do you want?
Studies that show that a 4-day work week is more productive than a 5-day.
There's a ton of them.
Well, there we go. That's all we needed to know.
I guess let's find the one that's the most credible.
And they did a poll. CNBC did a poll. A majority, 81% of workers say they'd be more productive if they were given the chance to work a 4-day work week.
Fuck, I'd say the same thing.
Well, yeah, of course. But
who do you think that 19% was?
Boomers. or guys who hate their wives and their kids and their life.
Yeah.
Please don't send me back home.
Yeah, I mean, like you look at these older generations that spent their entire lives of these men, and like I don't hate on them for it. Like I appreciate everything my dad did and my grandpa before.
Well, here's the thing: I don't hate on them for it, because they created a good fucking life for everyone. But now working those hours doesn't equate to that.
It doesn't.
So why
anymore.
fucking do it?
And you also have to look back at the give and take. Like how many of these boomer dads and boomer granddads at this point, like miss time with their families? How many of them hate their wives? How many of them are divorced because they spent their entire life working it away? It's like why would you want that for the next generation if it doesn't have to be that way? And the other thing I look at is like the auto manufacturers. If we're talking about hourly workers, you just have to hire more people. You have to hire more people and pay them a good wage, and then everybody can work a 4-day week. You're paying the wage regardless, Corey. Like you're paying these people no matter
that's what
what.
I'm saying. Oh, you mean you have to hire more people? You have to get more jobs, more good paying jobs? Unlike the bullshit we're seeing now that's like, oh, we're at 3.5%. Unemployment's so low. This economy is so good. There's so many goddamn jobs. We got people working 2 or 3 of them to make ends meet.
No, but if you're talking about somebody who's making $30 some odd an hour working, even if they're only working for 3 days a week, even if they're only working the part-time weekend shift, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't seem like that should be that big of a concession for auto manufacturers.
Do split shifts. Keep the shop open 6 days a week still, but then do like it's staggered with 4 start on, like half of them start on Monday and work that 4, and then the other half start on Tuesday.
Yeah, pretty simple stuff. It doesn't seem like that should be a no-brainer. And then you might have more productive workers that are less tired because they're not working.
And if they're not productive, guess what? There's going to be a big ass line out the door of people who are willing to be more productive. This ain't no police union and this ain't no teachers union. They don't protect the bad workers.
Okay, boomer. I love the idea of a 4-day work week, and I think that's a generational divide.
I think you're right.
I wish I had a 4-day work week. I mean, job I work, I kind of do. Don't tell my boss.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't spill all the beans.
No. I just control a lot of my own schedule. Anyway, that's all I had.
All right, should we get to the listener topic? So a new thing that I'm gonna try to do every week for the show is post on our different social media outlets. Just like, hey, what do you want to hear us talk about? Because I feel like it'll get you, the listener, more engaged and get you more excited about the show and be more willing to share it with your friends and stuff like that. So I posted, like, what do people want to hear us talk about? And someone said more third-party candidates. And then a lot of people said Cornel West.
So I'll give some names. I can't pronounce this young lady's name. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Durja Adrienne wanted to hear about Cornel West. Pamela Ricard wanted to hear about Cornel West and the Green Party. I think there was one other in here. Yes, Annie Nesson wanted to hear us talk about Cornel West. And Cornel West is somebody that we've talked about talking about on this show multiple times, and we just kind of never gotten to it. So what better time than now?
Right. So Cornel West is an American philosopher, a political activist, social critic, and public intellectual who is running for president in 2024 as a third-party candidate. He is a socialist who advocates for racial justice, economic equality, environmental protection, and peace. Thanks, GPT, for summing that up so well. So some of his policies is for education. He supports free public education from pre-K to college, cancellation of student debt, and increased funding for historically Black colleges and universities and other minority-serving institutions. Now, I'm all for that pre-K to college. I think the pre to 12 puts in the basics in you of like how to, basically read, write, and kind of have some sort of critical thinking, depending on what type of school you go to. And then I think that everyone would be able to get more of a better livelihood out of it if they can go to school for 2 years on a chosen course in a specialized industry or a specialized degree, whatever they would like, to be able to use that to get further along in life, not be a burden on the American taxpayer, create a decent living and a decent wage, and not just survive, but thrive.
So you're a free college advocate, are you, Corey?
2 years. Yeah. Associates. Absolutely. We already paid for 12. What's 2 more years?
I'll agree with you.
Because the government's paying for it anyways. They just saddle everyone with debt that they can't claim bankruptcy on. Thanks, Biden.
So I was going to push back a little bit on the free college thing, but I'll agree with you from the perspective of like basically an associate's degree is kind of in the marketplace, basically what a high school diploma was, in the 70s. Or in the 80s. Exactly. So I get the logic behind it. I think mostly here comes my libertarian is coming out. I'm more for privatized college. So I guess like if we're giving opinions,
it's not like a voucher. Do a voucher system. You can choose, like there's a couple options. Someone can start a private school, and if they can make money on the money that they would give to someone for their funding for a public college.
Yeah, but then now you're just injecting neoliberalism into places.
No, it would literally just be a check you get from the government or you would basically do your FAFSA and then that money, and then you fill out what school you're going to, whether it's private or public. And then that money would just get funneled to there.
Yeah, but if it's just private, now we have more competition and college is cheaper.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
that's a good thing.
We have to worry about FAFSAs.
You're only making my argument stronger, Dan.
I don't think so. I think we're arguing different things here.
No,
go ahead.
I'm saying that like
I said, my true solution for all that, well, you got to let these kids file for bankruptcy now, and then you got to do what you said. You got to privatize colleges. You got to let these colleges compete. It's going to drive these prices of these higher colleges down, and
don't let them have unions that protect bad teachers.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a different joke, and I started laughing before you finished because that wasn't a joke at all.
What was the joke? What jokes did you think I was making?
I don't know, but I thought you were going to make a bad joke. It was a premature laughulation.
Nice.
Yeah. So, if we're giving opinions on Cornel West, like the political pluralist in me, like loves the fact that he's on the ticket. I think he's a brilliant guy. I have various disagreements with him because I'm not a socialist. But what I do respect about Cornel West more than anything else is the fact that if you're going to be a leftist, be an actual leftist. And he is an actual leftist.
Yeah.
Call out Bernie Sanders for cucking out to the establishment. Call out the squad for, fighting to get elected and then basically cucking out to the establishment. That's what I respect about
Eat the rich dress at the Met Gala.
Yeah, the DNC fucked me over. Well, that's okay. As long as we can still fight for Medicare for all, I'm just going to sit here and let my good friend Joe Biden run this country.
Okay. I'll take 10 prescriptions being negotiated.
So Cornel West is one of those guys that I have certain disagreements with. I have certain agreements with. I think he's a brilliant thinker. And when we discuss political pluralism like we do on this show, I want guys like him on the ballot. I want to hear a guy like Cornel West get on a fucking debate stage. That's what I want to hear.
I would love that.
That's what I want to see.
He supports Medicare for all.
Medicare for all. You got to say it like Bernie Sanders. Medicare for all.
A single payer system that would provide universal health care coverage to all Americans, regardless of income, employment, or immigration status.
Now you just sound like Larry David.
Yeah, I'm not. You're the impressions guy. I'm not good at impressions.
I'm only good at a few.
And then he supports the Green New Deal and a comprehensive plan to create millions of jobs in clean energy infrastructure and public services while transitioning to 100% renewable energy economy by 2030.
Nope. Can't get behind that, bro.
Can't, but you know it's not going to happen anyways.
I know, it's one of those things where it's like people think I'm an asshole. Like, you don't care about the environment. It's like, no, I like the idea on paper. Like, it would be great if that was feasible, but it's just not.
But we're not doing it the feasible way. His foreign policy, he advocates for an end to the foreign military aid, the closure of U.S. military bases around the world, and the disbandment of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
See, dig a few of those things. I think he's got the right idea on Ukraine, right? Because he's an actual leftist. He doesn't want war like the establishment, quote unquote, left does.
He still kind of dances around the question, though.
He does a little bit. He does. You're right. He does a little bit.
But he is also calling for investments in services to support veterans and a global ban on nuclear weapons, which will never happen.
Well, I mean,
but I like the idea. But
again, you can appreciate
because here's the thing. Even when they were trying to do that, like in the early 2000s and 90s and stuff like that, when other countries were giving theirs up, and then Libya gave theirs up, and then we killed the leader. It kind of really put a bullet in the idea of any other country doing it.
Yeah.
The reason why North Korea has nuclear weapons is because they don't want to be fucked with like Iran or Libya or Nicaragua or Cuba or
as long as they have
Iraq
the Chinese propping them up, they're going to be safe.
Well, now they're getting closer with Russia too. Good job, current administration, for just creating an axis of three shitty powers.
Hashtag current administration.
But yeah, I mean, so that's basically just the cliff notes that I have of him. But Cornel West is running for the Green Party. He was initially going to run for the People's Party, but they're not on a ballot in all 50 states, so he jumped ship.
They're on a ballot in like 3 states.
Yeah. It was a smart move to hop to the Green Party.
Yeah, it was.
And if he was given the time of day, he would be a viable candidate. But I mean, either way, it's either him or the Libertarian candidate who's probably going to get my vote, because I am not voting for brain rot Biden or terrible Trump.
And we don't even know who that is yet.
The Libertarian Party?
Yeah.
Do they have a candidate yet?
They don't. I don't believe that.
Will you look up to see if the Libertarian Party has a candidate for the presidency?
Don't believe the LP has, because it's run by the Mises Caucus at this point, and I think they're waiting.
Maybe Dave Smith.
I don't think he wants the job.
Can you imagine if we saw a Camille Foster, Spike Cohen ticket?
They'd get my vote in 2 seconds.
I would vote for.
I would vote so hard, Dan.
I'd vote for Dave Smith, and I have vehement disagreements with him.
I'd vote so hard.
I would
vote so hard for.
I'm gonna vote even harder.
So, I will say, they don't have a candidate right now, but the way that it's looking, because I've been paying attention, I think Lars Mapstead is going to end up getting the nomination, and he's pretty tight with Spike. So don't be surprised if you see a Lars Mapstead, Spike Cohen ticket.
Well, maybe the other way around. Could be a Spike Cohen, Lars Mapstead ticket.
No, it won't be. Spike Cohen's not running.
He ran as VP under who did he run under VP as? It was before
Joe Jorgensen.
Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm all for more choices. The problem is that the Republicans and the Democrats have made it difficult for ballot access. And then these small parties, they just argue with each other. The Libertarian Party never gets their shit together.
Yeah, they don't argue with each other. They argue with themselves.
They argue with themselves. And then, the Green Party, here's the issue I've always had historically with the Green Party. And I don't think it's going to be any different under Cornel West, unfortunately, as brilliant as I think he is. They eventually just cuck out to whatever the Democrats are doing. That's the issue that I've always had with the Green Party.
They get all the super leftists excited.
Yeah, and then it never comes to fruition.
It's all about beating Trump.
Gotta defeat. Yeah. So, our opinion on Cornel West is
Positive.
I got some disagreements with him, as I do with. Here's the thing: I got disagreements with almost anybody that's going to run for president because part of what we do here is we think for ourselves. Doesn't mean we dislike them. Doesn't mean we like some. Doesn't mean we don't like other ideas that they have. Cornel West is no different. I have disagreements.
Yeah,
with
I
him,
could sit in a room
but I
with
like
Cornel West.
100%.
I could drink a beer with Cornel West.
Oh, he passes the Obama beer test. Does he now?
I could smoke a spliff with Cornel West and sit there and chill and just talk
He doesn't drink
philosophy
beer.
and policy and just go back and forth and have a blast with them.
100%. I agree.
I couldn't do that with Biden or Trump.
Well, Trump maybe. You know what's funny? I always get the idea that like Trump.
No,
might be a
because
little
I
bit
would have
different
to
behind
say
closed doors.
things in that weird tiptoey way around him. I'd have to
'cause
stroke his ego just to get to him to even listen to me. That's the thing.
All right, fair enough. All right,
You know what I
but
mean?
If,
Like,
but if you're going to sit down and have a beer with one, who passes the beer test better? Is it Trump or Biden? Just for shits and gigs.
I'd rather have a beer with Trump than Biden.
I agree.
You're taking
I
Biden to the hospital.
Yeah, he'd get drunk. He'd get drunk after one sip of beer.
Dude, this guy walks into an airplane and he's done. Imagine the guy walking out of your house.
You know what I had a dream about the other day? I had the dumbest dream. I had a dream. It was like, have you ever had those kinds of dreams where you're like a fly on the wall? Like you're not actually a part of the dream, but you're like watching something. I had a dream where Trump and Biden did mushrooms together.
That's awesome.
I don't remember the dream well enough to tell you exactly what happened, but they were both very giggly. And Biden freaked out because the walls were breathing. He didn't know where to go. That's all I
Never had
remember.
dreams about them. I had a dream about Tulsi.
Was she nude?
No, she was in one of her suits and we were sitting at my kitchen table and we were talking policy. It's such a nerdy, stupid political dream.
Yeah. Trump and Biden doing shrooms together is much more entertaining.
Like there's so many
than
people out there probably having dreams about Tulsi that are very like NSFW. And here I am sitting at the table drinking coffee with her, just talking policy.
All right, Corey, tell the people where they can find us
I will.
once you have it up.
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com, and we can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today! But yeah, for real, if you like the show, you like what we're doing, make sure to follow us. Give us a rating on your preferred podcast platform, because what that does is it helps boost the algorithm so more people can find the show. And I don't expect you to share it all over the Facebook to your friends and stuff like that to show them how much of a political junkie you are. But tell a friend. If you like the conversations we're having, you're probably having a conversation like this with your friends, and share this podcast with them.
I think we make culture and politics fun.
Is that our new slogan?
No, that's a stupid slogan. That's like a Nickelodeon slogan.
We make slime fun.
Anyway, for Bell the Bodysnatcher, he as always is Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin.
And until next time, we've been Libservative, and we are out of here.
Peace.